Kia ora, welcome to eBike 101, hosted by us here at EBT. My name is Leora, I'm a staff member here. Today we're going to be going over how to do a puncture repair without taking the wheels off your bike. There's a couple different bikes that this is especially useful for. The main one we think is our Ezee bikes here, and that's because they have a hub motor in the front and internally hubbed gears in the back. Some other bikes that have internally hubbed gears, which make it difficult to take the wheel off, are Shimano Nexus, Shimano Alpine, as well as some of the belt drive internally hubbed gear system like Inviolo and Roll-Off. You can see those in many different brands across our store, including reccomend, Kalkoff, Ezee, and Pistache as well. The other reason we like this method is that it uses very few tools compared to when you decide to remove the wheels from your bike. All we need is a pump, tyre levers, and some self-adhesive patches, or if you're old school you can also use glue patches as well. Alright, so we've got an Ezee Sprint here with a rear puncture. So what we're going to do first, pop it back on its stand. Because it's a rear puncture and we intend on flipping the bike upside down, first I'm going to take these bags off just so they're out of the way. Now that the bags are off, the area is nice and clear for us to work in it, and we're going to turn the bike upside down. The easiest way we think to do that is to do it in 2 steps. So first we're going to lever the bike onto its non-drive side. So that means we're going to have the chain facing up to the air. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab the front wheel with 2 hands and then just press it up. Alright, now our bike is upside down and we've got lots of good access to our rear tyre and front tyre. Alright, what we're going to do first is physically inspect the tyre to see if we can see what caused it. So sometimes you might see a bit of glass or a thumbtack. All sorts can cause a puncture on roads. At the moment, I can't see anything incredibly obvious here. So I'm going to move on to the next step and I'll inspect the tube and the inside of the tyre later. Next up, we're going to lever half of the tyre off the rim so we can get access to the inner tube and also the inside of the tyre wall. There's no particular way to do this. It can be a bit fiddly at times, but you just want to use your tyre levers to help pop the edge of the tyre to the outside of the rim. Now we've got half the tyre coming off the rim, and you can see in here we have access to the inner tube inside. What I'm going to do is just pull it out so it's no longer sitting in that pocket. As you can see, the tube is still attached to the rim through the valve here. Now we're going to inspect the tube to try and find where our hole is. We couldn't find anything obvious that was causing the puncture when we first inspected it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pump the tube up with air and then try and listen or feel with our hands if we can feel where the air is coming out. Alright, you should have just seen a clip where we showed you where the puncture was on our inner tube, and we found that just by pumping up the tube and listening and feeling with our hands. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put our patch on the area. So we're using self-adhesive patches, which are just these nice little stickers. All you need to do is peel it off like a normal sticker. Make sure you remembered where the hole is, pop it on, and then squeeze it between your palms for 30 seconds. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to re-pump up the inner tube to make sure that the patch has sealed the hole. So I'm just going to do that now. When the hole was exposed, it was quite obvious. We could hear it quite loudly. Got a decent amount of air in here and we can't hear anything escaping. Now I'm going to deflate the tube a little bit because this is too fat to stuff back into the tire. So I'm just going to deflate it again a little bit. What we're going to do now is we're going to inspect the inside of the tire to see if we can figure out what caused a puncture. Because we left the valve inside the rim, we know roughly where on the outside of the tire we should be able to find something. So I'm going to look nice and close in there. I'm also going to bring my fingers to the inside to see if I can feel anything that they're going to catch on. You do have to be careful here because some people, if it's a reasonably big piece of glass or something like that, some people do cut themselves. So before you go in with your fingers, probably best to visually inspect inside there as well. So you can use the torch or your phone or something like that. I can't see anything in here at the moment. That probably means that whatever caused my puncture went in and out in one go and nothing is left embedded in the tire. That can happen quite frequently as well. Next up, we're just gonna push the tube back inside the rim, between the tire and the rim, because we're confident that we've removed whatever caused the puncture or that it's no longer in the tire, and we're also confident that we sealed up that hole so air's not going to continue to escape from it. So this can be a little bit fiddly, but it's sometimes, you know, a bit like cooking. If you make pastries or anything like that, you just gotta stuff the filling inside, really. There we go. Now you can see the tube is between both sides of the wall of the tire. On this side of the bike, the rim, the edge of the tire is seated inside the rim, and on this side, it's outside the rim. So the last step we're gonna do is put the rim back inside. So you can just do that with your hands now. The first 3/4 will be relatively easy, and then the last quarter, we're gonna need to get our tire levers out again, so they're nice and strong. And in general, you want that last little bit to be opposite where the valve is. So I'm just gonna stand up to do this, makes it a bit easier. All right, last little bit to get in. There we go. Now both sides of the tire are inside the rim. Last step to do is pump it up, and then we're ready to keep riding. All right, we've pumped our tire back up and it's all seated nicely. I just wanted to add a little tip. If you happen to not have a pump on you at the time or don't have one at home at all, a great place to pump up your tires is also gas stations, because Schrader valves you find on bikes, that's also the same valves you get on cars. You do need to be very careful because some people do overinflate their tires and then they can pop, which is much easier to do with an electronic pump than a hand pump. Oh, last up, just gotta tip the bike up to its right position. So we're gonna do the exact opposite of what we did before. We're gonna grab the front wheel in 2 hands and lever it off the handlebars here where my foot is. So grabbing it with 2 hands, taking it onto the ground. Then I'm gonna walk to the other side of the bike and pick it back up. All right. Now if I got a puncture on my way home or before I wanted to leave the house in the morning, I'd be ready to go. Nothing else left to do.